Hello dear students. So today we're gonna start science fresh new chapter, that is chapter 1, crop production and agriculture practices. So let's start the chapter. Before starting the chapter, there is inside the chapter points. So the first point is agricultural practices. Next one, adding fertilizers or manures. Next one, harvest. Next one, preparation of soil. Next, irrigation. Next one, storage. Next, sowing, protection from weeds, and animal husbandry. So let's begin the chapter. Food is essential for our survival. We get food from plants and animals. The energy we obtain from food is utilized for carrying out various functions of our body like digestion, respiration, excretion, reproduction, etc. Some animals are herbivores, some carnivores, and some, like human beings, are omnivores. So here it is saying that food is essential for our survival, and we get food from plants and animals. The energy we obtain from food, it is utilized for carrying out various type of functions of our body like digestion function, respiration, excretion, reproduction, etc. Some animals are herbivore, some are carnivore, and some, like human beings, are omnivore. Okay. As the human population is increasing day by day, the food needs to be produced on a large scale to meet increasing demands. Hence, proper management and distribution of food produced on a large scale is necessary. The primitive man was a hunter and a food gatherer. He led a nomadic life and wandered from place to place in search of food. He ate whatever he found. He accidentally discovered that plants could be grown. He thus started cultivating crops. He improved irrigation facilities and used scientific methods to grow crops. This led to the development of agriculture. So here it is saying that as the human population is growing, increasing day by day, so the food need or food requirement is also should be increased on a large scale, okay, to meet the demand. So hence proper management and distribution of food produced on a large scale is very much necessary. The primitive man was a hunter. Like in the earlier period, the early man was the hunter and food gatherer. He was the hunter and food gatherer. So he led a nomadic life, like he wandered from place to place in search of food. He ate whatever he found, and he accidentally discovered that plants could be grown. He thus started cultivating then crops. And he also improved irrigation facilities and used scientific methods to grow the crops. This led to the development of agriculture. Okay. Here in this picture you can see different type of pulses and grains are there. Okay. The word agriculture is derived from the Latin word ager, means field, and culture means to cultivate. Thus, agriculture means producing crops and looking after them. So it is saying that the word agriculture, it is derived from the Latin word that is ager, that means field, and culture means to cultivate. So thus agriculture means producing crops and looking after them. Okay. Let's talk about agricultural practices. Agricultural practices. Many processes are undertaken by the farmer to grow crops. Plants of the same kind grown at one place on a large scale for food, clothing, etc. are called crop. For example, several plants of rice grown in a field form a crop of rice. A large number of crops are grown in India depending on the climate, rainfall, and humidity. Different crops are grown in different regions of our country. Crops are basically classified into two kinds based on season. So it is saying that many processes are undertaken by the farmer to grow crops and plants of the same kind which is grown at one place on a very large scale for food, clothing, etc. That is known as the crop. For example, there are several plants of rice which are grown in the field and to form the crop of rice, and also a large number of crops are grown in India depending on the climatic condition, on the rainfall and humidity. And different crops are grown in different regions of our country. Okay, and crops are basically classified into two categories, two kinds, okay, based on the season. Here you can see the farmer how he is working in that wheat crop area. Now first we're going to talk about the first kind of crop on that one is Rabi crops. Rabi crops, these are grown in the winter season. These are sown in October, November and harvested in March, April. They are also called winter crops. Examples are wheat, barley, gram, pea, mustard, and linseed. So basically, Rabi crops are those type of crops which are grown in the winter season, and they are sown. The seeds are sown in October, November, and it was cut down or harvested in March and April. They are also known as winter crops. These Rabi crops is also known as winter crop. And examples of Rabi crops are wheat, barley, gram, pea, mustard, and linseed. Next type of crop is Kharif crops. Kharif crops, they are sown during June, July and harvested in September, October. They are also called summer crops. These crops need a large amount of water and are hence sown in rainy season. Examples are rice, maize, cotton, groundnut and soybean. Besides these, pulses and vegetables are also grown in many places. So what is this Kharif crop? So they are sown, generally the seeds are sown during June and July, and it was cut down or harvested in September and October. They are also known as summer crop. These Kharif crop is also known as summer crop. And these crops need a large amount of water, and water is required, and hence sown in the rainy season. It is particularly sown in the rainy season. And examples of these Kharif crops are rice, maize, cotton, groundnut and soybean. Okay, here you can see the image of paddy crop. Okay, beside these Rabi and Kharif crop, there are also pulses and vegetables which are grown in many places. So in this one, examples of some common crops are given. So there is a table given, type is given and example is given. So the first one is cereal. So cereal is the example of what, like from which you obtain the cereal, that is wheat, rice and maize. Okay, these are the cereals. Pulses, gram, lentil, urad. These are the pulses. Oil seeds, mustard, groundnut comes under the category of oil seeds. Next one, tuber crops, potato, onion, these come under the category of tuber crops. Next, fiber crops, cotton, jute are the fiber crops. Next one, fruits, apple, mango, banana is the fruit. Okay. Here you can see the crop of bananas. Now let us learn about basic practices of crop production. For growing crops, farmers perform a series of activities in a particular sequence over a period of time. These activities or tasks are known as agricultural practices. These activities include soil preparation, selection and sowing of seeds, adding manure and fertilizers, irrigation, protection from weeds, harvesting, threshing, and storage. So basically, it is saying that like how the practices of crop production is done. Like for growing crops, farmers perform a series of activities. okay, in a particular sequence they perform, and for over a period of time, and these activities or tasks are also known as agricultural practices. So in under this agriculture practices, some activities are there. First one is the soil preparation. First the farmer prepare the soil well, okay, then selection and sowing of seeds. A good quality type of seed is selected, okay, for for growing the crops. Next one is adding manure and fertilizers. Next one irrigation. Next one protection from weeds. Next one harvesting, and next threshing and storage, okay. Here you can see the process of irrigation. So let's talk about let's talk about these agriculture practices step by step. So the first one is soil preparation. The process of loosening and turning the soil is called tilling or plowing. This is an important process because of the following reasons. So basically, what is this soil preparation? The process of loosening and turning the soil. Okay, that is called tilling or plowing. That is known as tilling or plowing. And this is an important process. Okay, this is a starting process, and this is also an important process because of the following reasons. So there are some reasons. So the first point is loosen soil allows the roots to reach deeper into the soil. This helps to fix the plant more firmly to the soil, helps in trapping air in the soil. This is used by the roots for breathing. So the first point is saying that loosen soil, it allow the root to reach deeper into the soil, and this help to fix the plant more firmly to the soil, and it also helps in trapping the air in the soil, and this is used by the root for breathing, okay. Next point is loosening of soil helps in the growth of earthworms and microbes present in the soil. These organisms further turn and loosen the soil, their dead, decayed bodies and humus to the soil. These organisms are friends of the farmers. These microorganisms also make the soil fertile by decomposing the remains of plants and animals. Thereby, the nutrients held in the dead bodies of animals are released back into the soil. So it is telling you that by loosening of soil, it helps in the growth of the earthworms and also microbes, okay, which are present in the soil and which are the friends of the farmers. And these organisms further turn and loosen the soil, and their dead decayed bodies add the humus to the soil, okay. And these organisms are the friend of the farmer, as you know. And also these microorganisms also make the soil fertile by decomposing the remains of plants and animals, and thereby the nutrients of it just held in dead bodies of the animals and are released back into the soil. Now the next point is the spaces between the soil particles help to trap the spaces between the soil particles help to trap water, thereby increasing the water holding capacity of the soil. So the spaces which are between the soil particles, they just help to trap the water and thereby increasing the water holding capacity of the soil, okay. Now the next one is it helps to bring nutrient rich soil to the top, which can be used by the plant. So basically it helps to bring that nutrient rich soil into the top, and which can be then used by the plant, okay. Next point, it helps the soil to mix well with fertilizers. Soil is plowed with the help of a tool called plow, and plows are made of iron or wood. The wooden plow has an iron tip which penetrates into the soil. These days, iron plow are used. Plow are drawn either by either by bullocks or other animals like horses and camels, or through a tractor or through a tractor. At times, the plough field may have big lumps of soil called crumbs. They need to be broken down with a plank called leveler. The process of making the soil surface even and smooth is called leveling. Leveling prevents soil erosion and helps in uniform irrigation of the field. So it is saying that soil is plowed with the help of a tool, that is the plow. Okay, and plow are generally made up of iron or wood, and the wooden plow has an iron strip. You can see the picture over there given. The wooden plow has an iron strip, and which penetrate into the soil, which when you dug the soil, it penetrates into the soil. And these days plow are drawn either by bullocks or by other animals like horses and camels, or through a tractor. Okay, at times the plow field may have big lumps, like there is some time like when the plow field have big lumps of soil, that is called the crumbs, and they need to be broken down with a plank called leveler. And the process of making the soil surface even and smooth is called the leveling. Okay, and leveling just prevent the soil erosion and helps in the uniform irrigation of the field. Okay, so that the water reaches to the crop. Okay, here you can see the different type of equipments. Plow, you can see cultivator driven by a tractor, and also hoe. Now the next one is agriculture implements. Plow and other tools needed for large scale production of crops and are called agriculture implements. The main tools used to break soil to the size of grains to get better yield are plow, hoe, and cultivator. This is done before sowing the seeds. So it is saying that plow and other tools are needed on a very large scale production of crops, and are also called the agriculture implements. So the main tools which are used to break the soil to the size of the grain to get better yield, to the size of the grain they are beating it, okay, breaking it, and to get the better yield are plow, hoe, and cultivator. Okay, and this is done before sowing the seed. Now let's talk about first, that is plow. Now let's talk about first agriculture implement, that is plow. Plow, it consists of a strong rectangular iron strip called plowshare and a long log of wood called plow shaft. At one end of the shaft there is a handle, and the other hand is attached to a beam which is placed on the bull's neck. So it is saying that this plow, it is consist of a strong rectangular iron strip, okay, called the plowshare. That strong rectangular iron strip, that is known as the plowshare. Okay, and a long log of wood is there, that is called the plow shaft. At one end of the shaft there is a handle. At one end of that shaft there is a handle, and the other hand is attached to the beam, that is attached to a beam which is placed on the bull's neck. Okay, next one is hoe. Hoe, it is a simple tool used for removing weeds and loosening or breaking the lumps of soil. So hoe is what? Hoe is a simple tool which is used for removing the weeds and also loosening or breaking the lumps of soil. Okay, now the next one is cultivator. Nowadays plowing is done by tractor driven cultivator. This saves both time and effort. So nowadays plowing is done by the use of cultivator, okay, tractor driven cultivator, and this saves both time and effort, time and energy it saves. Now next one, the selection and sowing of seeds. First one was the preparation of soil, and now the next one is selection and sowing of seeds. Selecting good quality healthy seeds is the next important part of production. Seeds selected should be of good quality, that is high yielding, disease resistant, clean and healthy. This is a good method for separating good healthy seeds from the dangerous ones. So basically it is saying that one should select good quality or healthy seeds. Okay, it is important part for the crop production. And the seeds which are selected are of good quality, that is high yielding or disease resistance, they are clean and healthy. So this is a good method of for separating the so this is a good method for separating good healthy seeds from the damaged ones. Okay, now before moving further, there is an activity, that is activity 1.1. So this activity you have to perform by your own. Okay, now the next point is seeds should be sown at a proper depth, neither too deep nor too shallow. If planted very deep, they will not germinate due to non-availability of moisture as well as air. If planted too near to the surface, they will be eaten away by birds. Next point is seeds must be sown at a proper distance from each other to avoid overcrowding. If space is too little, plants will not get sufficient sunlight, nutrients and water from the soil. If the spacing is too large, precious space is if the spacing is too large, precious space is wasted. Sowing can be done either manually or mechanically using a seed drill. So basically it is saying that seed should be sown at a proper depth. It should be sown at a proper depth, neither too deep or nor too shallow. And if that plants were planted very deep, they will not germinate due to non-availability of moisture as well as air. So when the seeds are planted very deep, they will not germinate due to non-availability of the moisture or as well as air, because they are like very deep they are sowed. Okay, so the seed should not be sowed very deep, okay, or nor very shallow. And if planted too near to the surface, then it will be eaten away by birds. Okay, next is that seeds must be sown at a proper distance, like there should be proper distance of like one seed to the other one. Okay, and there should not be overcrowding. If space is too little, then plants will not survive, and plants will also compete with each other for the sunlight, for nutrients, for food, etc. And if the spacing is too large, then precious space is wasted. Okay, sowing can be done either manually or it can be done mechanically using a seed drill. Here you can see the image how sowing is done, sowing wheat seeds, and manual seed, like how the farmer is manually sowing the seed, and by using the machine also you can sow the seeds, that is sand drill. Okay, so this image is seed drill. So seed drill is used to sow the seeds. Okay, now let's talk about first, that is manual sowing. The process of sowing seeds by hand is called broadcasting. In this method, seeds are sprinkled directly into the soil. In this method, seeds are not uniformly distributed. This method also does not ensure that all seeds are sown at an appropriate depth. Seeds of bajra, rice, maize, and wheat are sown by this method. So what is this manual sowing? The process of sowing the seeds by hand is known as broadcasting. And in this method, seeds are sprinkled directly into the soil, and in this method seeds are not uniformly distributed, and this does not ensure that all the seeds which will sown later at an appropriate depth. Okay, and seeds of bajra, rice, maize and wheat, these are sown by this manual method, by this manual sowing. Okay, now next one is using a sand drill. Sorry. Now next one is using a seed drill. A seed drill can be pulled across the field using bullocks or a tractor. Seeds sown using a seed drill are distributed evenly and placed at the correct depth in the soil. This method is faster and more economical. So basically, seed drill can be pulled across the field using bullock or a tractor, or one can also use tractor. So seeds are sown using a seed drill and are distributed. Here it is, the seeds are distributed evenly. It is not uneven one. It is distributed evenly and placed at the correct depth in the soil. Okay, and this method is faster as compared to the manual one, but it is more economical. It is expensive one as compared to the manual sowing. Okay, now the next thing is sowing of seeds by transplantation method. Seeds of certain plants like paddy, chili, tomato, brinjal are not sown directly into the field. They are first sown in nurseries and then transferred into the fields manually when the seedlings are 4 to 6 weeks old. This is known as transplantation. This method has several advantages. It helps the farmers. So basically, there are some certain seeds of plants like paddy, chili, tomato, brinjal, which are not sown directly in the field. Okay. First, they are sown in nurseries and then they are transferred from there to the main field. Okay. So when the seedlings are about 4 to 6 years old, 4 to 6 weeks old, then they are just transplanted. Okay, so this process is known as transplantation. So this method has several advantages. So what are they? First one is that to select healthy seedlings and space them properly. Like in this, you can select the healthy seedling and then you will space them properly, okay, to the field area. Next is to ensure that wastage of space is avoided, and it also ensures that the wastage of space is avoided. Okay, now here's a blank given. Let's revise, fill in the blanks. So these fill in the blanks you have to do by your own. Okay, now let's talk about the next step, that is adding manure and fertilizer. After sowing the seeds, there is the next step, that is adding manure and fertilizers. Plants require certain minerals that are essential for their growth. Substances which are added to the soil in the form of nutrients for healthy growth of plants are called manure and fertilizers. When crops are grown in a field, they use the nutrients present in the soil. Farmers grow one crop after another. The fields are not left uncultivated. The soil becomes devoid of certain nutrients. Farmers therefore have to add manure to the soil to replace the nutrients. This process is called manuring. So here you can see that the farmer is adding manure. So plants require certain minerals which are essential for the growth, and substances which are added to the soil in the form of nutrients for the healthy growth of plants, that is called the manure and fertilizers. And when crops are grown in a field, they use the nutrients, which are present in the soil. Farmers then grow one crop after the another and the fields are not left uncultivated. So the soil that become devoid of certain nutrients, and farmers therefore have to add manure because there is there is less content of nutrients in the soil remain. So that's why farmers have to add the manure, okay, to the soil to replace the nutrients, and this process is known as then manuring. Manure is an organic substance obtained from decomposition of plants and animal waste. It is organic in nature and increases the humus content of the soil. Manure also helps to increase the water retention. Manure also helps to increase the water retention ability of the soil, and it improves the texture of the soil and makes the soil porous. Fertilizers are chemicals made in factories. They are rich in particular nutrient. They provide nutrients to the soil in a concentrated form. Some examples of fertilizers are urea, ammonium sulfate, potash, NPK, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Fertilizers as fertilizers are a source of water pollution. Excessive use of fertilizers spoils the quality of soil. Therefore, we must substitute fertilizers by organic manure or leave the field uncultivated in between the crops. So basically fertilizers and chemicals, they are made in factories, okay, and they are rich in a particular nutrient. They provide nutrients to the soil in a very concentrated form. Some examples of fertilizers are the urea, ammonium sulfate is there, potash, NPK, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And there is also the fertilizers are a source of water pollution also, like by using too much of fertilizer it just pollute the water, and excessive use of fertilizer also spoils the quantity. Excessive use of fertilizer spoils the quality of the soil, and therefore one must use one must use like sufficient amount of fertilizer, or you can substitute the fertilizer by the organic manure. You can use organic manure in place of fertilizers. Okay, next we're going to talk about crop rotation. Crop rotation is another method of replenishing soil with nutrients. The process of growing a different crop, preferably a leguminous crop, is between grazing of two similar crops is called rotation of crops. This is done by growing different crops alternately. Farmers thus grow leguminous and wheat alternatively in northern India. You have already studied about rhizobium bacteria and how they fix the nitrogen in the previous classes. So here you can see the crop rotation in this figure. So crop rotation is another method of replenishing soil with nutrients, and like providing soil with nutrient, and the process of growing a different type of crop, preferably like a leguminous crop, and in between raising of two similar crops is called the rotation of crop. Like this is done by growing the different crop alternately, like farmers grow leguminous and wheat alternatively in northern India. Okay, and you have also studied about the rhizobium one, which provide nitrogen, which convert the nitrogen which is present in the atmosphere into a type of nutrient, okay, for the plant growth. There is also activity 1.2 given, so this activity you have to perform by your own, and below this activity there is difference between manure and fertilizer. So the first point is that it is manure. It is an organic substance. It is a natural substance obtained from plant and animal waste. Fertilizers, it is an inorganic salt. Okay, fertilizer is an inorganic salt. Next one, it can be prepared. Manure can be prepared in field, whereas fertilizer can be it is prepared in factories. And manure, it increases the humus content of the soil, whereas this fertilizer does not increase the humus content of the soil. Next one, manure, it is not very rich in plant nutrient, this manure, but this fertilizer, it is very much rich in plant nutrient. Okay, the organic manure is considered better than fertilizers. So it is saying that the organic manure is considered very much better than the fertilizers. Okay, now as we studied this one, like adding manure and fertilizer, now we move towards the next step, that is irrigation. Irrigation, like human beings, plants also need water to live. Plants need water for proper growth and development of flowers, fruits, and seeds. Plants contain 90% water. In the absence of water, germination will not take place. In the absence of water, germination will not take place. Nutrients dissolved in water are transported to the different parts of the soil. The crops are protected from both frost and hot air currents by water. Water has to be supplied to fields regularly so as to maintain the moisture content of the soil for healthy crop. The supply of water to crops at regular intervals is called irrigation. Water requirement varies from crop to crop, soil to soil, and season to season. Paddy needs a constant supply of water, whereas wheat requires water at regular intervals. The farmers in India, the farmers in India, the farmers in India depend primarily on rains. Since the rainfall varies from time to time and also from place to place, other modes of irrigation have to be used. Okay, so in this paragraph it is saying that irrigation is very much important for watering the crops and all. Okay, so human beings, plants, like just like human beings, plants also need the water to live. So plants need water for proper growth and development of the parts, like flowers, fruits, seeds are there, and plants contain up to 90% of water, and in the absence of water the germination of plant will not take place, and nutrients dissolved in water are transported to the different part of the soil. From there it goes to the plant body, and the crops are protected from both frost and hot air currents by water. And water has to be supplied to the fields regularly, and so as to maintain the moisture content, and of the soil for healthy crop. Okay, the supply of water to crops at regular interval is called the irrigation. So what is this irrigation? The supply of water to crops at regular interval, that is the irrigation. So water requirement, it vary from crop to crop, soil to soil, and from season to season. Paddy needs the constant supply of water. It requires high amount of water, whereas wheat require water at regular interval only. And the farmers in India, they depend primarily on rain for the water for irrigation, and since the rainfall, it vary from time to time and also from place to place. So other modes of irrigation are involved in it then, like you can see rahat is there, tubewell is there, and moat is there. Okay, let's talk about sources of irrigation. The sources of irrigation are river, water reservoir, tubewells, canals, wells, ponds, lakes, rivers, and dams. Sources of irrigation are these type of things, like river, water reservoir, tubewells, etc. Then next one is methods of irrigation. Methods of irrigation can be considered two broad categories, traditional and modern. So this method of irrigation, it can be considered of two broad categories, that is a traditional irrigation and modern irrigation. So let's talk about first one, that is the traditional method. Traditional methods, some of the traditional methods include moat, that is pulley system, then chain pump, then next one furrow irrigation, next dhekli, and rahat, that is lever system. The water available in lakes, canals, etc. is lifted up in different ways. These methods are cheap but often led to wastage of water. So it is saying about the traditional method. It is telling about the traditional method. So in traditional method, moat, pulley system is used for irrigation. Chain pump is used for irrigation. Furrow irrigation is there. Dhekli and rahat, the lever system is there. So the water which are available in lake, canals, etc., it is lifted by in different ways. Okay, and these methods are cheap as compared to the modern one. Okay. But yes, in this traditional method, there is often wastage of water. Here you can see furrow irrigation is there, chain pump is there, sprinkler system is there. Let's talk about modern methods. Modern methods help to save water. Sprinkler irrigation and drip irrigation are examples of modern method. So basically, modern method of irrigation, it just helps to save water. It is expensive, but it helps to save water. And the types of these modern methods are like sprinkler irrigation is there, and also drip irrigation is there. So let's talk about first sprinkler system. This means supplying water on crops as artificial rain. This method is useful in water source. This method is useful in water scarce areas such as desert and where there is less or even rainfall. It is useful in areas having sandy soil. These are perpendicular pipes having rotating nozzles on top, which are joined to the main pipe line at regular intervals. This method involves pumping of water at high pressure through the main line by means of a pump. As water escapes from the nozzles, it sprinkles on the crop as if it is raining. So, here it is talking about the sprinkler system. So this means supplying water on crops as artificial rain. So this method is useful in water scarce area where the water is less in lesser amount. Like for example, desert is there and where there is less or even rainfall. And it is useful in areas having the sandy soil, and they can use a perpendicular pipe which is having the rotating nozzle on top, which are joined to the main pipeline, and at the regular interval the water get sprinkled, okay, or at that particular place. So this method, it involves the pumping of water at high pressure through the main line by means of a pump, and as water escapes from the nozzles, it then sprinkles on the crop as if it is raining. Okay, now the next system is drip system. This technique is used for watering fruit plants, gardens and trees. In this method, pipes or tubes are used having very small holes to deliver water drop by drop directly at the base of each plant. Hence, it is called drip system. This method is very useful in areas having a shortage of water. So the next system is drip system. So this technique is used for watering the fruit plants, gardens and trees. And in this method, pipes or tubes are used which is having very small hole to deliver the water drop by drop directly at the particular base of that plant. Okay, and that's why it is known as drip system. And this method is very useful in areas which is having the shortage of water, like desert area. Okay, now after this irrigation method, here comes the protection from weeds. Sometimes undesirable plants called weeds grow along with the main crop. These undesirable plants need to be removed as they start competing with the crops for air, sunlight, water, space and nutrients. The process of removing weeds from the field is known as weeding. Examples of some weeds are grass, amarnath, bathua, that is Xenophodium, and wild oat. Farmers use different methods to remove weeds. Tilling before sowing seeds helps in uprooting and killing weeds. They dry up and mix with the soil. Manual method of weeding involves uprooting the weeds manually. This is done using tools like khurpi. Weeds can also be uprooted with the help of a seed drill. A weedicide is a chemical that is used to destroy weeds. Weedicide destroy the weeds without affecting the crops. Metachlor 2, 4D, Dalapon and Butachlor are some of the commonly used weedicides. Weedicides are diluted with water and sprayed on the plants by water sprays. Weeding is carried out before plants produce flowers and fruits. Spraying of weedicides may adversely affect the health of the farmer if he accidentally comes in contact with these chemicals. They must be handled very carefully, and nowadays herbicides have replaced weedicides. They do not affect the health of the farmers and are obtained from plants. So here it is talking about the protection from weeds. So it is saying that sometimes the undesirable plant, they just grow by their own self. Okay, and along with the main crop, and there is the competition going on, to take the amount of air, sunlight, water, space, etc. So the process, by removing the process of removing the weed, that is known as the weeding. Okay. Examples of some weeds are grass, Amarnath is there, Bathua, that is Chenopodium, and wild oat. Okay, and farmer use different methods of removing to remove the weeds. Like first one is tilling before sowing. Like before sowing the seeds, there is the tilling method. In this tilling method, the weeds are removed manually, like by hand. Okay, and then they also, they when they approved the when they approved the weeds, they just put that weed over in that land only. The weed then dry up and mix with the soil, okay, to to make the soil more fertile. And manual method of weeding involves the uprooting one, and this is done by using a tool, that is the khurpi. Okay, and weed can also be uprooted with the machine, that is a seed drill. It can also be uprooted by that, or you can also, or the farmer also, spray weedicide to kill the weed, to destroy the weed. And weedicide destroy the weed, but it also not at all affect the crop. Okay, so these weedicides examples are like metachlor is there, metachlor 2, 4D, Delafon, Bitachlor. These are the commonly used weedicides. Okay, so weedicide is carried out before the plants produce flower and fruits. And spraying of weedicide may adversely affect the health of the farmer if he or she accidentally come in contact with that weedicide chemical. So nowadays herbicide is used instead of weedicide, which do not affect the health of the farmers, because that herbicides are obtained from plants only. Okay, here you can see the image of weeding, and here also you can see the image of the farmer who is spraying the weedicide in the crop. And here you can see the khurpi from which the weeds are removed. Okay, now the next one is harvesting. The process of cutting and gathering of crops after it is matures is called harvesting. It is an important step. Harvesting season is different for different crops. It is a time to rejoice for farmers. It comes after 3 to 4 months of hard work. Harvesting is done either manually by sickle or with the help of a machine called harvester. So basically, the process of cutting and gathering the crops, that is the harvesting, and it is an important step. This harvesting is an important step. Harvesting season is different for different crops, and like for the rabi crops and kharif crop, they have the different harvesting season. And it is a time, this harvesting season is also a time of this harvesting season is also a time of rejoice for the farmers. Like various type of festivals are celebrated during this harvesting time. Like for example, Pongal is there, Baisakhi is there. Okay, so this harvesting, it comes after 3 to 4 months of hard work, and harvesting is done either manually, you can do by sickle, or by using the machine called harvester. Okay, the crops are cut close to the ground. The harvested grains are called produce. The harvested grains are known as produce, and they are tied in bundles. The grains needed to be separated from the chaff. This process is called threshing. So the grain should be separated from the chaff. Is that process known as threshing. Okay, where you're beating that crop. Okay, to take to get this grain out of that chaff. So threshing is done either manually, you can do, or with the help of a machine called combine, which is a combined harvester and a thresher. After the grains are threshed, chaff is removed by winnowing. So chaff is removed by winnowing. Okay, and this winnowing can be done manually. This can be done manually or with the help of a winnowing machine. You have already studied about winnowing in class 6th. So it is saying that you have already studied about this winnowing process in class 6th onward. Okay. Now, before moving further, there is a point updating yourself. In India, harvesting of crops is associated with many festivals like Holi, Baisakhi, Pongal, Onam, Bihu. So the harvesting is associated with many festivals, which are Baisakhi, Pongal, Onam, Bihu, and Holi. Okay. Now we're going to talk about storage. Storage. The harvested grains needed to be stored till they are made available for human consumption. They have to be stored carefully to retain crop quality. They have to be kept safe from moisture, rodents, insects, and microorganisms. Freshly harvested grains contain a lot of moisture. The grains have to be properly dried in the sun to reduce the moisture before storing them. Most grains spoil quickly and are also attacked by organisms, thus losing their germination capacity. Dried grains are less susceptible to attack by microorganisms and insect pests. Farmers store grains in gunny bags or metallic bins. Bulk metallic bin. Farmers store grains in gunny bags or metallic bins. Bulk storage of grains is done in silos or in granaries. This protects them from attack of pests. At home, dried neem leaves are used to store food grains. Large quantities of grains have to be stored safely so as to last till the next harvest. The humidity level is also controlled in silos and granaries to prevent the growth of microbes. So it is telling about how the storage is done. So the harvested grain, the grains which are cut down, harvested down. So it needed to be stored till they are made available for the human consumption, and they have to be stored carefully to retain the crop quality, and they have to be kept safe from moisture, from rodents, from insect and microorganisms. Freshly harvested grain have it have certain kind of moisture before storing them, so that should be reduced. They should be dried in the sun to reduce that moisture. And most grains spoil quickly and are also attacked by organisms, like thus they also lose their germination capacity. And dried grains are less susceptible to attack by microorganisms and insect pests as compared to the grain which is having the moisture in it. Okay, so farmers store grains in gunny bags or in metallic bins they store, and the bulk storage of grains is done in the granaries, and this protect them from the attack of the pests like rats, etc. So at home also, dried neem leaves are it is the harvested grain is covered with the dry neem leaves so that any type of insect does not attack on that. Okay, the humidity level is also controlled in silos and granaries where these grains are stored. Okay, so that the growth of microbes does not take place. Now the next thing is, okay, before going to that, here are some pictures. Combine is there, silos or for storage of grains is there, and also storage of grains in granaries. Okay, now the next thing is food from animals. We obtain many food items from animals. We get many kind of food items from animals such as milk, meat, eggs, etc. Milk in turn is used to prepare a number of products like butter, ghee, curd and cheese. Fishes are also consumed by human beings. Rearing of animals on a large scale for food or other needs is called animal husbandry. Animals reared both at homes or in farms have to be provided with proper food, shelter, and care. So it is basically saying that we obtain food from animals also. We get many kind of food, like we get milk from cow, we get meat, egg, etc. Milk in turn is used to prepare different food from animals. Food from animals, we obtain many food items from animals. We get many kind of food items from animals such as milk, meat, eggs, etc. Milk in turn is used to prepare a number of products like butter, ghee, curd and cheese. Fishes are also consumed by human beings. Rearing of animals on a large scale for food or other needs is called the animal husbandry. Animals reared both at homes or in farms have to be provided with proper food, shelter, and care. So it is telling about what type of food we obtain from animals. Like for example, from cow we obtain milk, from hen and ducks we obtain eggs. Okay, and then milk. That milk which we obtain from cow, it is converted into various type of products are made. Like for example, butter, ghee, curd, cheese, etc. Okay, and fishes are consumed by the human being, and also there is rearing of animals, the rearing of animals on a very large scale for food or for other needs, that is known as animal husbandry. Okay, and animals are both reared at homes or in farms, and they have to be provided, these type of animals have to be provided with proper food, shelter, and also care, good care. Okay, now there is an activity, that is activity 1.3 shown over here. You have to complete the table. So the food are written over here and the sources are written. You have to complete this table. Okay, now the another point is the scientific terms. So this scientific term you have to study it deeply. Okay, now the next thing is that as we have studied this chapter, let's recall some points. So the first point is farmers have to adopt certain agriculture practices in a sequential manner over a period of time for growing crops. Plants grown in field for food are called crops. In India, two types of crops are grown. In India, two types of crops are grown based on season, Rabi and Kharif. The first step in soil preparation involves tilling and plowing. Plow and levelers are used for this purpose. Next one, selecting good quality seeds and sowing them at appropriate distances and depth is another important step in crop production. The seeds are sown either by hand, that is broadcasting, or using a seed drill. Next one, crop rotation also helps to improve crop yield. Next one, supply of water to crops at appropriate interval is called irrigation. Next one, removal of unwanted plants that grow along with the cultivated crops is called weeding. Next one, the crops are cut on maturity by machines or manually. This is called the harvesting. Next one, after the harvesting, grains are separated from chaff by threshing and winnowing. And the next one, the process of rearing animals for food is called animal husbandry. Okay, now as we have studied this chapter, let's do some exercises. So the first one is the tick the correct option. I am telling you the first one. The process of loosening soil is called dash. Is it sowing? Is it manuring? Is it plowing? Or is it irrigation? The process of loosening the soil is known as plowing. It's called plowing. Okay. Like this, you have to complete this, tick the correct one. Okay. And also this true or false and matching patching. Okay. I hope student that you understood this chapter. So your homework is you have to do the MCQ and true or false and matching. Okay. Till then students, take care. Bye bye.